All right, good evening, everybody. Let's see. Today is May 30th, 2023. It is 8:55 p.m. And we are reporting live here from Central Park West on the corner of 61st Street and Central Park West, to be exact, very close to Columbus Circle. Now, the view right now that you're seeing, I wanted to point out this building specifically right here, 220 Central Park South. We do have a little bit of a record-setting sale here in New York City. I think the news broke over the weekend, so we'll talk about that today. But a few things to talk about in terms of the equity market or just capital markets in general. Did anybody notice the price action in crude oil today? Well, crude oil broke $70. If you take a look at the crude oil futures contract, ticker symbol CL, we're trading at $69.50. Price is trading well below the 50-day and 200-day moving average. That's a pretty stark contrast between, if you compare where we were trading at in March of 2022, where we hit a high of $130. So that is a huge price decline. And to me, the price of crude oil, or the market, is sort of signaling or forecasting some sort of an economic slowdown or recession, right? Because if you think about the supply and demand, less people that are going to be using crude oil, less people traveling on the roads, maybe that is the way of the market forecasting a bit of a recession or economic slowdown. Another area of concern which we've talked about, which I think is also cooperating with this correction in crude, is the zero COVID policy in China being lifted. We really haven't seen the pickup in economic activity that we would have liked. I think a lot of economists and analysts on Wall Street were really overstating and overestimating the strong recovery in China, including myself. I thought that once the handcuffs were off, so to speak, in China, that things would start to recover a little bit more. Now, if you look at the HSI, which is the Hang Seng Index futures, down big. We're down about 238 points. Price is trading well below the 50-day and the 200-day moving average. And it seems as if we're going to retest the lows that we put in on November of 2022. So if the Chinese economy is not doing well, and that makes up a significant portion of global GDP, I think crude and other things that we're going to talk about tonight in the live stream are sort of forecasting a potential economic slowdown. Now, I want to turn our attention to the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Dow. The market was pretty much flat all day. However, we did open higher. We actually gapped higher and reversed, closing almost at the dead low of the day. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more follow through on that. The market is extremely thin. Take a look at some of the industrial stocks, particularly Caterpillar. Caterpillar just broke below the 50-day and the 200-day moving average again, well off its all-time record high that was set on January 27th of 2023. So my main concern with the recent rally in the market is that it's been driven by a select few stocks, such as Microsoft, ticker symbol MSFT, Amazon, ticker symbol AMZN, as well as Meta. So Microsoft is trading near record highs. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a pullback, see a handle start to form here. We'll go into sort of the lulls and the summer doldrums. Maybe we'll see price correct a little bit more, and maybe we will resume our uptrend. One of the things we're going to talk about, we got some significant home price data that came out. So S&P Case-Shiller home price index came out today. Home prices actually were up month over month, so we'll talk about that. Now, the biggest trend that I've been seeing out of this report, or that I've seen out of this report today, is the continued bifurcation of the market, particularly the further west you go, right? If you look at the data, if you just go to spglobal.com, you can click on the drop-down link and it'll take you to the S&P the main conclusion we could draw from this is that the East Coast is actually holding up rather well, particularly the Southeast, places like Tampa, Florida, Miami, Florida. You're actually seeing Charlotte, North Carolina hold up pretty well. You're seeing actually cities like New York hold up pretty well, but the further out west you go, particularly San Francisco and Seattle, prices are actually coming down quite significantly. So we'll talk about that. Let me go ahead and put away my laptop here. I actually have to warm up. It's a freezing cold night. I think it's only 55 degrees out in the city tonight. It's cold, very, very cold. So let me go ahead and close up my laptop and we will get started. Now we're going to be going to the Upper West Side tonight. We haven't been there in a while. I think it'd be cool to show you guys the Upper West Side because we've been spending a lot of time in Lower Manhattan as of late. I see Gary Carpenter. Good to see you, sir. Welcome. I see Bree Grams, Laureen Peters is here. Jafet Perez is the FANG stocks. Yeah, I agree. You know, they've been holding up really, really well. And a lot of the other sectors in the market are actually really thin. If you look at the new highs to new lows, I was going over this a little bit with you guys on Sunday night and on Monday night, which was yesterday, Memorial Day. You're actually seeing a lot of stocks break their 52-week lows. So it's either one or two things are going to happen. It's either the market is going to catch up with the individual stocks and the broader market is going to roll over, or some of these select individual stocks are going to catch up with the broader market and breadth will improve. Hey, KK is here. Says, hey Tom, good to see you. Andrew says it's beautiful weather out. You're going to miss it when it hits 90 and humidity. No, I love the humidity, man. It's summer, it's time to be 90 degrees and humid. That's what I want. It's 60 degrees out, but it feels substantially colder than that. Now, before we kick off the live stream, we have some sort of breaking news, some really big news in the New York City real estate market. You guys see this bill, $1 million, if you could believe that. It's pretty impressive. So although we're seeing some softening across the board in the real estate market, there are some spots that are still trading at significant valuations. Now, what's interesting about that particular sale, I'll actually cross the street so I can give you guys a little bit of a better view of the building, 220 Central Park South. An interesting thing about that sale is obviously it's under contract. So should that contract actually go through and the deal does close, the original owner of that unit is going to net north of a $20 million profit. It's pretty good for only holding the unit for about 2 years. So I think we're going to continue to see this market, in terms of the real estate market, be very, very individualized and selective. Now, one of the biggest trends that we've been seeing and talking about is, you know, the economy is actually really healthy the further up the stack you go, if you will, right? We've been talking about very strong earnings reports out of LVMH, Moet Hennessy. We've been seeing luxury brands across the board post record sales, and we've also seen record hospitality companies, or I should say record profits in luxury hospitality companies such as Hyatt, Marriott, and the like. So it just goes to show, real estate is very, very broad-based but individualized based upon the market. It's all about location, it's all about the quality of the asset. And right here is some of the most prime real estate in the world, 220 Central Park South. Under contract, I'm not sure which unit, they didn't disclose that, but I'm assuming it's probably north of the 40th floor. Under contract for $75 million. If this closes, if this deal gets done, which I think it will, it'll net the seller $20 million profit for holding the asset less than 2 years. Pretty good. Hey, Jonathan Earl says, Tom, it's going to be a cold summer. I read an article about that in the Farmer's Almanac. Hopefully they're wrong, but I think we're going to have a pretty cold summer here in the Northeast. We'll see. This is the Deutsche Bank Tower right here, which is home to the Mandarin Oriental Hotel as well. I see Robert is here. What's up, Robert? Good to see you. Emmanuel says, Tom, what do you think about Demodaran's MBA corporate finance course? Do you find it useful? Yeah, I find it really useful. Now, for those of you who don't know, Professor Damodaran is considered to be the Dean of Valuation. And he's one of the most well-renowned professors at the NYU School of Business, the Stern School of Business particularly. Now, his courses are so popular there, for good reason, that NYU has actually opened up 2 of his most famous courses to the public, where you could take it online. Now, you could do this in one of 2 ways. If you want to, take the instructor-led course online, and then if you pass it, you get the certificate. That's going to cost you, I think, whatever NYU charges, right? $3,000 for the course. That is the Securities Analysis and Corporate Finance course. So if you're interested in that, I think it's worth the money. But if you're not interested in the credential and you just want to learn it for the sake of learning it and then just improve your skills, the vast majority of his coursework, in my view, is available for free on his YouTube channel. So you could actually just type in Aswat Damodaran on YouTube, and he is so generous with his time and with his students that he actually uploads a lot of his lectures for free on YouTube for the public and the masses to study on your own. So if you're an autodidact in nature, and if you're a go-getter, I would definitely check it out. It's quite surprising if you've looked at his YouTube channel. A lot of these, I should say courses, I'll just call them courses, they're videos, but it's essentially like mini lessons in finance, corporate finance, securities analysis. They don't have too many views, right? And a lot of the times what you'll find on YouTube are these sort of hidden gems, if you will. So you have one of the best professors to ever walk the face of the earth, right, that teaches at one of the best business schools in the world, and he is willing to post his material online for free for everybody to benefit. So yeah, I do see a massive value in that. One of my favorite books that I always recommend is a book called Valuation by Damodaran. Now, you could get this on Amazon. I always recommend getting them off of the Amazon used book section, mainly because a lot of people will email me, they're on a tight budget, or they're a student or something like that, and you could pick up these books, these textbooks, for $30, $20, right? So I think it's a good comment, and I would definitely recommend Professor Damodaran. Here's the front, the very, very front entrance of 220 Central Park South, where we just had the record sale here. Hey, UniJ22, good to see you. Trust you well. Hey, Greg Peters says, hey guys, Columbus Circle Jazz. Yeah, really amazing events going on over there. V2 says, are you able to sit in on any NYU classes for free in person? I don't know, I would assume not. Right? NYU is a very expensive school, but I think information now is increasingly becoming more readily available to people. I just read an interesting article. If you guys got the Wall Street Journal this morning, I think on page B2 there was a really interesting article about college admission rates. So more than ever, and this trend really started after the pandemic, but more than ever, students aged, high school graduates from 16 to 24, they're actually choosing in higher amounts than ever before to not go to college and either go to a trade school or something like that. And I think that's really fueled by the historic low unemployment that we have in the United States, which actually on Friday is when we're going to get the non-farm payroll numbers. So we'll actually, we're going to get a live look and we're going to get an update at the unemployment rate. Right now in the United States, the unemployment rate is 3.4%? So some of the lowest in history since the 70s. And I also think one of the reasons why this is happening is because of the astronomical cost of an education in the United States. Now, when I say this, I don't want it to seem like I'm anti-college, because I'm not. I'm actually very pro-college. If you look at all of the statistics and if you look at all of the data, by far, people with at least some college, right? It doesn't even have to be a full bachelor's degree, just some college, make more money than those individuals who do not have a college degree. However, where the problem lies is, I think it starts at the high school level. This is Central Park Tower, by the way, right behind 220 Central Park South, where we just had that record $75 million sale.
Why do you think that?
Now, the problem, in my view, starts at the high school level, where a lot of teachers and guidance counselors, at least when I went to high school, there's no talk at all about the cost of going to school, right? It's just apply to whatever school you want and don't even worry about the cost. I think that's setting people up for failure, because when you're 16 and 17, you're really not thinking about your career unless you're like a superstar. I know I wasn't. I was just thinking about, hanging out with my friends and playing soccer. I wasn't really thinking about, wow, how much is college going to cost me? I was really oblivious to it because, my dad was in the Navy, and my dad never went to college, right? So it wasn't a topic in the house. So the problem herein lies, you've had record numbers of kids going to school, getting in record amounts of debt, but acquiring degrees that don't give them a big enough shovel. And what I mean by shovel is an income to get themselves out of the debt. So long as you do the analysis and ask yourself, well, is this degree going to earn me enough income to pay off my debt? Then I think it's worth it. But a lot of people don't do that analysis. So I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to that. And I think that's good, right? I don't know, any thoughts there in the chat? I know it's a very touchy subject, but I think it just, because I have a ton of friends who are in literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. Literally, quite literally. I mean, law school is expensive. And at the time when you're 17 and 18, you're oblivious to what $250,000 is, right? You just want to go to college and hang out with your friends because everybody else is doing it. So I think we need to have a bigger focus on, if you can't afford to go to school, don't take out the ridiculous amount of loans. If you go to a public school or, an in-state or something like that, depending on what you major in, you're probably going to be fine. You're probably going to do fine. Hey, Manny Explorers, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. Hopefully you had a good Memorial Day weekend. Dan Zank says, just don't pick a useless major. That should be rule number one. Yeah, I agree. And I don't know, I think my experience is very unique. I think everybody's experience is very unique because different high schools across the country are better than others. But there was no talk about cost of college in my high school at all. It was just you go and that's it. But hey, Tower says university is about to cost more too. The price of tuition has historically risen 67 cents for every dollar of federal aid provided. Yeah, that's true. Hey, Jem says, my daughter is paying student loan debt. It's terrible. Yeah, it really is terrible. And, I think the last thing I'll say about student loans, because it is important, right? And this affects the economy. Now, with this looming debt crisis that has essentially been averted because we've come to an agreement, right? Speaker McCarthy and President Joe Biden have come to an agreement to solve the debt problem. Well, I shouldn't say solve the debt problem. I'll just say, raise the debt limit, which is probably going to happen once they vote on it. But did anybody notice what was in there? If this goes through, all of the student loan forbearance is going to be gone. So that means from the pandemic up until this point, the vast majority of people haven't been making payments on their student loans. And the median student loan payment per month in America is about $238. And the median student loan balance in America is about $19,000. That's pretty significant. So once this debt deal, I'm just going to call it a debt deal, gets done, those student loan payments will resume, and that could have an impact on consumer sentiment and consumer spending. So I think it's important that we think about that as well. Hey, Pac-Man is here. Good to see you. I see my friend Kirby. Guys, this is Central Park South and 6th Avenue, Avenue of the Americas. Welcome, welcome. Carol S. is here. Justin S. is the local university, just cut a bunch of their programs because of the lack of applicants for them. Wow. Kirby says, I respectfully disagree. I think you're underestimating quality of life, that college degree. Can you give... Hold on, let me read that. I don't think we disagree, Kirby. I think we actually agree. Maybe you're just misunderstanding my point. That's all right. I'm very, very pro college, but you just need to do it in an appropriate way. I think it's been marketed to kids and students to say, don't worry about the price, just go. But you can get I'll give you an example, okay? I have a friend who went to Pace University, literally a mile down the road in Lower Manhattan, got the same exact degree that I did. The same exact degree, right? He paid $250,000, probably over $250,000 for it, and he's still paying off that debt. And I didn't pay anything for mine. Now, does that mean he got a better education than I did? And does that mean that I got a better education than he did? No. It's just a criminal justice degree from, maybe a private school. I don't think there's a real big difference in education there. But again, I think the topic in high schools, nobody really teaches us about the ramifications of the cost, especially for kids that can't afford it, right? They just say, oh, take out a student loan because everybody takes out a student loan, right? So I'm very pro-college. I think you should go to college, but you should do it in a way where it doesn't bankrupt you for eternity, because that is a horrible life, and it's very stressful to have student loans. Very, very stressful. This is the Plaza Hotel. We're walking down Central Park South. TC says there's so many unfair issues surrounding student loans. I think so too. I think so as well. Keith says, glad to hear about the student loan forbearance. Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, my personal opinion, and there's many, many reasons why college is so expensive in the United States, but the government subsidizes all of these student loans. So you sort of strip all of the price discovery out of the market. So the incentivization is actually flipped on its head, where it's actually the colleges are incentivized to raise prices, to build more fancy facilities, to expand the big administration costs, because everybody can technically afford to go, because you can just walk into a student loan office and get approved in any amount, right? There's no underwriting for it. It's just, you want to go to college? How much is it going to cost? We don't care. Boom, approved. It's not like that in any other market. It's not like that getting a mortgage. You can't just walk into the mortgage office and the loan office and tell Citibank or tell JP Morgan Chase and Jamie Dimon, hey, I don't have any income and I just want to, purchase this house. And don't worry about my income. Just give me the loan, right? So, I think there's problems in the education space in the U.S., but hopefully somebody will come up with a creative solution for it. I think one of the solutions that is going to cause a little bit of short-term pain is just getting the government out of subsidizing all these student loans. Look at the moon tonight, guys. That is a really beautiful shot. Wow. So in this shot right here, all the way to the right, you can see a little bit of the Plaza Hotel. The black building to the left of the Plaza Hotel is the Trump Tower. Then you have the full moon, and then here you have 432 Park Avenue, which looks really good tonight because it is totally clear. Very, very clear night. Hey, Mothman is here. This is Tom. Tonight looks beautiful. Good to see you. Madison 32. This is Tom. Who owns the Plaza Hotel now? That's actually a good question. I'm not too sure. I knew back in the day, I think Donald Trump used to own it, but he doesn't own it anymore. I don't know. I don't know who owns it. Maybe one of our moderators or somebody could Google that. And obviously right in front of us we have the Sherry Netherland, which is a very famous hotel residences as well. If you've ever read the book Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Carol S. says, I paid off my student loans. I don't think we are in the position in this country financially to be giving others a pass. Yeah, and I mean, that's another thing that a lot of people have been arguing about too, right? You know, the student loan forgiveness. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, that's another thing that a lot of people have been arguing about for sure. But guys, so I just want to jump right into this because we did get some very important data coming out of the housing market today. So if you want to follow along, if you just Google search S&P Case-Shiller home price index, and if you look at the national home prices on a year-over-year basis, or excuse me, on a month-over-month basis, they actually rose 0.7% from March of 2022. So on a year-over-year basis, home prices rose 0.7%. This is the second consecutive month in a row where home prices actually ticked higher. And this is in the face of rising interest rates. I wish I brought a jacket, I'm like shivering here. And this is in the face of rising interest rates, right? If you look at the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage today, it actually came down a little bit, but we're still at a 7 handle. So a 30-year fixed in the United States, it's going to cost you 7%, a little bit over 7%, I should say. But even with that, home prices continued to rise nationally for 2 consecutive months. Now, I would like to say that 2 months doesn't equal a trend, right? And we've been seeing not only sales transactions, so in terms of sales volume, steadily decline month over month. We've had over 11 months, I should say 12 months now, a year, 12 months in a row where sales transactions have grind to a halt, which makes sense, right? As you increase the cost of money, as money gets more expensive, deal flow starts to slow down. Now, if you look, and we're going to go through this today, I just wanted to show you guys the Sherry Netherland. Jesse Livermore, also known as the boy plunger on Wall Street, used to reside here and always used to go to the bar and have a drink after he would spend his days trading stocks down on Wall Street. This is actually also where he took his own life. I would highly recommend that book, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Now, we always talk about Paul Tudor Jones, who is the founder of Tudor Investments. Rumor has it that if you want to go work for him, before you start, the required reading is Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. So if it's good enough for Paul Tudor Jones, it's good enough for me. Hey, Vivian is here. Good to see you, Vivian. Hopefully you had a good Memorial Day weekend. I see Steve Gonzalez. Hey, Steve. Pat says y'all should see the Canadian housing market. Yeah. Canada is actually taking measures in certain cities to ban foreign purchases of homes because it's gotten so out of control, especially in cities like Toronto. You've been seeing tons of foreign investment from places like Korea, China, and the like, purchasing tons of property. So I think Trudeau actually made a statement and said that he is going to ban, in some cases, foreign purchases of real estate in major cities in Canada. Now, I believe here in the United States, in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis is trying to make a similar move to ban foreign purchases of real estate assets in Florida. I'm not sure the whole scoop on that, but that is definitely a trend we need to watch. So I appreciate that comment very much. Hey, Brad's Brain, what's up? Good to see you, Brad. Brad is joining us from Texas, great state of Texas. Now, if we dive down into this report, right? So we've had 2 consecutive months where home prices increased But I want to drill down into the specific markets. We do this every month because I do have a concern, and this is a major, major growing trend, and I like to call it the bifurcation of the market. Hey, the usual suspect, thank you so much for your very kind $10 donation. This is Tom. I got laid off from my 10-year job with a major bank plus insurer, starting a new job next week for a major airline. Hey, dude, that's awesome. Celebrating good fortune. Usual suspect, love that. You know, it's been a rough couple of years, right, with all these layoffs. So I'm really pleased and really happy to see that you landed something and you got back on your feet. So thank God for that, man. And congratulations to you in your new career. I'm sure you're going to be very successful in it. Let us know how the transition is, by the way. So you're coming from banking / the insurance market into the airlines. Interesting. Very cool. Well, congratulations to you, my friend. Love that. Yusuf is here. Welcome. We're actually going to go to the Upper West Side tonight, guys. I kind of got a little bit distracted walking all the way over here. So I'm going to head down 58th Street, or maybe we'll head down 57th Street, and then we'll make another right and we'll head up. I want to take you guys to Lincoln Center. I also want to take you to the Dakota and talk about some notable real estate up there as we continue to talk about the home data that came out today. But if you look at the 10-city composite and the 20-city composite, you'll notice two major things that are happening. Now, number one, out of the 10-city composite, that includes LA and New York. And those prices, in terms of housing prices, declined 0.8% year over year. Now, the 20-city composite, which includes Dallas, Texas, and Detroit, declined even further, about 1.1% year over year. We'll get away from this truck here. I think they're doing some work on the LVMH store, Louis Vuitton store. Now you may be thinking to yourself, okay, almost 1% declines across the board in those major cities. That sounds like a big problem. Well, not really. I think that's actually quite resilient, to be honest. If you think about just the pace of interest rate hikes, you know, the average 30-year fixed 18 months ago was about 3%. Today, it's 7%. I think there's a big traffic jam over here. I think about a 1% decline across the board year over year is actually quite moderate. I was actually expecting a lot more than that. However, what we were expecting to happen is only happening in very, very specific markets. For example, guys, check this out, okay? According to the data that was just released today, S&P CoreLogic, Seattle, okay, all these West Coast cities, you think about Seattle, home prices are down 12.4% year over year. That is big. You look at the San Francisco market, that's down 11.2% year over year. So we're starting to see some very specific markets start to get its clock cleaned a little bit, start to get hammered a little bit. And I think there's a big reason for this, which I think we all know why, which we'll talk about. Hey, LB, thank you so much for your very kind $2 donation. I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you for supporting the stream. Hey, Paul says it's awesome looking on what I see. How is the traffic there? How does it compare to Dallas? You know, traffic's not too bad in New York. It's bad on certain days, particularly on Thursdays, because in New York City, everybody's doing this hybrid remote work style stuff. So they only really come into the office maybe 3 days a week. And if you can come into the office 3 days a week, people are choosing to drive more. So on Thursday nights particularly, if you're headed to the Holland Tunnel, if you're headed to the George Washington Bridge, you're going to be in gridlock for a long time. Guys, this is the Aman, New York. This is the brand new hotel, extremely ultra luxury, ultra high net worth luxury hotel, where rooms could start at $1,700 a night and go all the way up into the several thousands. Now, they completely remodeled and resurfaced this whole building, but this is the Aman, New York. I was actually talking to a viewer out of Aspen, Colorado. I think Aman is going to open up another hotel in Aspen, which is interesting. Hey, Brad's Brain says, anecdotally, I'm seeing prices settle in here, but I'm not ready to buy until January if I decide to buy. Yeah, Brad, I think you got the right idea. I think prices are going to continue to cool. That is my mindset. I think it's only appropriate from what I'm seeing here in New York, and I'd love to, to have you guys comment to give everybody in the chat some perspective on what's going on in your market locally, right? Because real estate is very, very local. Like in New York, for example, I think my prediction is that in the sales market for one bedrooms specifically, you're going to see a lot of cooling there. Sellers, some of the sellers that I've been talking to, they're very, very reluctant to reduce their prices. And buyers are getting cold feet, and they're saying, look, if I'm going to get a 7% interest rate and I'm going to buy this one bedroom for $1.5 million, well, maybe I'll stop my apartment search in New York and maybe I'll just go buy, a 5-bedroom house in upstate New York and commute into the city. I have so much more space. So buyers in the city, or I should say sellers in the city, I think are going to start to realize this. If you're motivated to sell your property and if you want to move the product, you have got to live in reality. Okay, and I'm not saying that in a mean way. I'm saying that in a very direct way, right? It's a very different market than what the market was just 20 months ago or just 12 months ago, when money was essentially free. Everybody was drunk on, extremely low interest rates. It's not the same, okay? It's not the same. So if you're motivated and you want to sell your property, you're going to need to sort of play ball here and be fair, right? You got to be fair. So I think there's going to be some softening in New York, particularly in the one bedroom vicinity there. And I think that's going to be good for buyers long term, right? I mean, real estate runs in cycles, just like the equity market, just like every other market there. It goes up, it goes down, and it's very dependent on interest rates. And if you have 500 basis points of rate hikes crammed into 18 months, well, that's going to dry up some of the liquidity. So, hey, Paul says, I am curious. I married my wife, who is from Wellsburg, New York. We just celebrated 18 years. How is Niagara Falls? I don't know. I've only been to Niagara Falls like once, but congratulations on your anniversary. Hey, Brendan O'Brien says, Tom, not to bring up liquidity again, but doesn't the creation of more T-bills create more collateral for hedge funds and other financial institutions to borrow from, thus increasing liquidity? Yes and no. Yes and no. But what we are seeing is an extremely, extremely high demand for treasuries, right? There's an off the Richter scale demand for treasuries. And there was actually an article in the Wall Street Journal today that was talking about what is fueling this stock market rally. And essentially what you're seeing is exposure is actually at all-time record lows. It's the quants that are actually driving up and getting a lot of exposure to equities. And one of the reasons why that's happening is because the way a lot of these algorithms are programmed is to gain exposure to equities when volatility is low, right? So when vol is low, if you have the VIX under 20, algorithms are automatically programmed to essentially take risk-on positions or get long the market. So on the flip side of that, to your point about treasuries, there has been a record demand for U.S. Treasuries by individual investors and hedge funds, which kind of makes sense, right? If we look at the yield curve right now, I think today the 1-month U.S. Treasury is yielding 5.35%. The 1 year is yielding 5.266%. So if you could just park $1 million and buy a 1-month Treasury or a 1-year Treasury and make yourself over $50,000, it's a pretty good trade-off to me. It's technically risk-free, right? Risk-free rate of return. So individual investors and hedge funds have historically low net exposure to equities right now. The quants have been driving this rally, according to the article. And there's high demand for treasuries because they're paying. This is a good shot of the mighty bull here. Hey, Hawaii, what's up? Good to see you. NBA Elias is by historical standards. Home prices today are still elevated during this economic downturn. This will help wealthy sellers and buyers as a nation of renters continues to rise. Very well said. I think it's very well said. Let me turn the corner here. I'm taking you guys through this maze. I think this is going to be a brand new super tall, something like that. But I don't know. We sort of, went over the Case-Shiller home price data, and we're seeing the further west you go, I would say the more prices are declining, particularly in San Francisco, particularly in Seattle. Double-digit price declines year over year. So I guess I'll turn it to you guys. In your market, wherever you're watching from, doesn't necessarily have to be in the United States. Are you guys seeing softening in the housing market? Are you starting to see prices come down? Maybe you're in the market to buy right now. Are sellers willing to negotiate? What are you guys seeing? Hey, CM says, I just tried to make a reservation at the Amman, but it's full. I think that's very fitting of the times. Hey, Vivian says prices are not going down at Broward or Fort Lauderdale. That guy just almost caused an accident. Did you guys see that? It was very close. All right, now we are outside of Carnegie Hall. So almost everybody's saying not yet. Hey, Wendy England, good to see you. This is still low inventory where I am. That's another big problem. There's a lack of quality inventory in New York as well, by the way. Hey, Abdullah says happy Tuesday. What's up? Justin S says my friend just bought a house in upstate New York for $250,000. 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2,200 square feet. Wow. Now, what is your definition of upstate New York? Because New York is a huge, huge state. Congratulations to your friend, by the way, but a lot of people who are not from New York, they think, when you say New York, they think Times Square, right? They think Manhattan. But New York is a huge, huge state. Let me catch up on some of the comments. Hey, CB says Austin, Texas, both rent and buy prices are down. Which makes sense because that's what the data is showing, right? Now, Austin was one of these really boomtown cities during the pandemic. I mean, the influx of residents to Austin, Texas during the pandemic was really unprecedented. And if you look at, previous market cycles, right, everybody always likes to go back to the 2008 financial crisis. If you look at the markets that went down the most during 08, 09, they were the markets that went up the most during the big bull run. Now, you could think about markets like Tampa, Florida got hammered. Miami really, really took it on the chin and got hammered. That's because back in the day, right, leading up to 08, many people who were buying in Fort Lauderdale, who were buying in Miami, We're buying third, fourth, and fifth homes and speculating, right? There was not a lot of job growth down there. It's not like what it is now, where you're actually seeing substantial businesses in both tech and finance move down there. Back in '08, the salaries were not good. More speculation. Not to say that we're not seeing that right now in Miami, but I think the base for a sustainable uptrend in the housing market in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, in my opinion now, is on better footing than it was before, when you just had rampant speculation of people just buying vacation homes. Hey, Kanar Barris's prices are very high at my end because of the oil boom. Hey, Connie, this is Tom. I live in Binghamton, New York, which is called the Southern Tier. So what are you seeing in the housing market over there? You seeing a lot of demand from buyers in Manhattan trying to get more space? Now, this is the very back end of 220 Central Park South. And we just got a record sale, or I should say it's in contract in this building right now. Take a look at it. Just went under contract this weekend for $75 million. And your neighbor is Central Park Tower to the south of you. This neighborhood has changed so much just over the last 10 years. Notice the difference in the architecture between all of these mega tall billionaire row ultra skyscrapers, and then you have some of these homes and buildings which are quite literally over 100 years old. Quite the diversity in architecture. And then you have Engine 23, which is an operational FDNY firehouse, literally right next door to 220 Central Park South. Doctors is my house in Seattle on Redfin/Zillow says the price went up for the last 2 months. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, again, if you look at the data, the two markets in the West that are really suffering the worst price declines is Seattle and San Francisco. Seattle is down 12.4% year over year. San Francisco is down 11.2% year over year. But the Southeast came in at a plus 5.4%, and the West overall, right, so the Western region overall came in at negative 6.2%. I think that's a combination of a couple things. Now, if you want to talk about places like San Francisco and parts of Silicon Valley, their economy, the growth engine there was all tech, right? Massive amounts of wealth were created there. In technology. And the pandemic obviously taught everybody that, well, maybe I don't need to be in Silicon Valley. Maybe I don't need to be right in San Francisco anymore to be able to work in tech and raise money from venture capital and hire the appropriate talent. I could do that remotely. Maybe I could do that from a cheaper city on the East Coast, right? Another city that performed really, really well is Charlotte in North Carolina. Now, anybody in the chat from the Carolinas that can maybe provide some insight on that? Because I've never been to South Carolina, but throughout my business ventures in New York, a lot of my clients have been bringing it up specifically. Places like Charlotte and the like, North Carolina. Paul says I would never leave Texas. Which part of Texas? TK Porsche says San Francisco declined due to tech industry layoffs. I think that's part of it for sure. Dan Zhang says my brother-in-law started working at Uber last year and he hasn't visited the office once. Wow. Dan, is that in New York? Which office is he based out of? Uber pays very well. They pay their engineers really, really well. So congratulations on that, by the way. Hey, Connie, this is Tom. I just moved. New York City buyer. Hold on, the chat's moving so fast I forgot to put it on slow mode. I think I lost Connie's comment. Connie A says, Tom, I just moved, new New York City buyer of the building, raised my rent $300 a month. Really? Wow. So you're seeing New York City real estate investors start to purchase multifamily properties upstate, improve the properties and raise the rents. Now, I'm glad you said that, Connie, because I'll give you guys a little bit of inside, not really inside info, but I had a meeting, right, with one of the top producing real estate sales teams in Manhattan. And a big real estate developer, well-known real estate developer, was sitting in on the meeting. And and this is what he says, right? And I agree with him, but one of the reasons why you're seeing rents so high in New York is really not due to the lack of inventory. That's actually a little bit of a myth, and I'll sort of explain what I mean. Is it true that we have a lack of inventory on the market readily available for people and tenants to rent? Yes. Yes. However, there's actually a lot of inventory that sits vacant on purpose because they're either in rent-controlled buildings and the like, where it's not worth it for the landlords to renovate, rehab, get these units ready for rental, and put them on the open market for rental, because the cost of the renovation, the cost of the demo, the cost to make these units ready for rent, they're not able to command the appropriate market rent, so they just rather sit empty forever. So there's thousands and thousands of apartments in New York City that are totally empty, that landlords would rather just sit on them, not improve them, not put them up for rent, because it's actually more cost effective due to all the rent controls. So, not to get too political here, but the rent control system is actually making the affordability crisis worse. So maybe a lot of developers and real estate investors from New York City that are used to buying in the tri-state area, maybe to Connie's point, they're moving upstate and they're saying, hey, I'll take over and acquire this multifamily property. The economy's doing okay in upstate New York. Maybe I could afford to raise the rent across the board in these units by $200 or $300. People will pay it because they can't live in downstate New York because they pay 5x the rent. Maybe that is a trend we're seeing too. So it's interesting, very, very interesting. We almost have like this artificial inventory shortage that is very unique to New York. Hey, Dusty Cole, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. We are now back outside of the Deutsche Bank Tower. This is the Jazz at Lincoln Center. This is one of my favorite neighborhoods in New York. This is 59th Street, Columbus Circle Station. Right here, it'll take you to the 1 train. You can go all the way downtown. This is actually where we were 2 nights ago. I got on the 1 train, took it all the way downtown to South Ferry, and then we took the Staten Island Ferry. It was a fun stream, really fun stream. Steve CR, welcome. Good to see you, Steve. Connie A says, many New York City landlords in Binghamton, slumlords, they buy them up and let them run down. Oh, and leave them run down, he was saying. Interesting. Colleen says, hello, Tom and everybody. Good to see you, Colleen. Now, this is a new development that just went up. I'll tell you guys a little bit about this. So when I went to college, I actually went right over here. You can't really see it, but Fordham University is blocking it. I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice. So I'd pass by this building every day. 1 West 60th Street did not used to look like this. This is going to be a brand new luxury apartment It's going to be studios up to 4-bedroom rentals. Now, I think they were trying to pitch the developer to sell these, but due to market conditions, I think they're just going to put them on the market for rentals. This used to be a Starbucks here, and it used to be a very ratty looking commercial space. It used to be very old and sort of like dilapidated office tower, but now they've torn the entire thing down and built these really nice, luxurious condominiums. Now, I'm not sure, I'm trying to think, because you have the Trump International Hotel and Tower kind of blocking the view, and I'm not sure if the building is tall enough where you could have a Central Park view. I'd probably need to go inside the building to see that. But it's in a good location. I mean, you're right next to the subway. You're also right next to some of the major colleges in New York, one being NYIT, New York Institute of Technology. We're going to cross right by it now. You're near Fordham University, which is the law school. Many people confuse the Fordham University, which is right here, if we make a left on 61st Street. They confuse that with the undergraduate school, which is in the Bronx. But let's see if we could, you know what, from the top floors, from the higher floors, you may just be able to see a little bit of Central Park, because you kind of have the one Central Park West blocking it, but looks like pretty good units to me. Hawaii is like completely not used apartments, not even to use for Airbnb or Vrbo. Yeah, not even that. Many units just sit totally vacant, and the landlords don't even bother to put them on the market for rental, because the amount of money it would take to fix these units up in order to get them rent ready, if their building is under rent controls or rent stabilization, they wouldn't be able to bring it up to market rent to make it worth it. So that's actually sucking a lot of inventory off the market. So there's sort of like an artificial shortage in Manhattan. Hey, Clarence Jackson, what's up, man? Good to see you. I think this is your neck of the woods, right? We're headed up towards Lincoln Center, so this is your town. Hope you're well. Clarence has stopped by Lincoln Center. Are they doing that again? The outdoor summer disco? Very cool. Yeah, we'll stop by tonight. I wanted to take you guys all the way uptown. Well, not all the way. 72nd Street to see the Dakota again. We'll see. All right, let me just cross here. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams starting at 8:30 p.m. This is a cool shot of the smoke coming out on the corner of 62nd and Broadway. Brick Stonewall says it must be nice to be able to afford to leave your building vacant. Ben Cunningham says slumlords are taking over my city as well, buying sheriff sale homes and making them HUD housing until they get condemned, never-ending tax write-offs for them. Which market is that, Ben? I think you're in the Pittsburgh market, right? You were telling me? Maybe that's somebody else? Hey, Canals, just hello from Brazil. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us, Joseph Hardaway. Good to see you. Oh yeah, so I saw a couple questions in the chat. So the founder of Investors Business Daily, IBD, William J. O'Neill, Bill O'Neill, did pass away over the weekend. And there was a really nice tribute today on IBD Live and Bloomberg. So I would advise you guys to check that out. Bill O'Neill, I think, did more for the average individual retail investor than arguably anybody on Wall Street ever. So he was the official author of How to Make Money in Stocks, as well as the founder of IBD, which actually just sold to News Corporation for, I think, $250 million, give or take. So the same company who owns the Wall Street Journal, or same company who is under Wall Street Journal umbrella, and Barron's is now all under one roof. You have IBD, you have Barron's, Wall Street Journal, all under one house. And I think Bill did that to sell the company, you know, as he was getting older. I think he passed away at 90 years old. So a really, really amazing long life. I mean, to make it to 80 years old, if you're a male, is an extreme blessing in the United States. You know, after the pandemic, we actually had our life expectancies go down in the United States. I'm not sure if you guys saw that. I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal 2 weekends ago that after COVID, after the pandemic, life expectancy in the United States is actually on the decline, which is not good news. Not good news at all, team. Hey, Teresa Diaz, wow, thank you so much for your very kind $2 donation. Congratulations on 30,000. Wow, that's crazy. Would you guys ever think in a million years that we would have 30,000 people subscribe to this channel? That's wild to me. But I think it's a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys being here. I think we have an awesome team. It's fantastic. Wow. 30,000 people. Well, hopefully you guys are enjoying the walks about in New York and talks about the financial markets. You know, this stream has been a really amazing networking opportunity for me. I've met many of you in person as well. So thank you. That's unbelievable. I think we may be able to fill up Madison Square Garden. I think we may be at capacity. So thank you guys. That's awesome. It's fantastic. Geez, 30,000 people. Well, this is Lincoln Center. This is one of my favorite places in all of New York. Now, if Clarence Thomas is correct, I think they're setting up the outdoor disco that they do, I think, for the past 2 years now. So if you look right over the Lincoln Center fountain, they have turned down the fountain, and I think they're going to put a huge disco ball. It's going to be like this massive disco ball. It's going to hang right here, and there's going to be a silent disco. Anybody ever seen one of those? Let's see, maybe it'll say it over here. Hey, Joe Monaco, thank you so much for your $5 donation. I appreciate it. Thank you for your kindness. All right, Lincoln Center Summer for the City, June 14th through August 12th. New York City's largest dance floor with a mega disco ball is coming back. So if you guys want to scan the QR code, if you're visiting New York, if you're a tourist or you're coming here for the first time or moving here, feel free to scan it. And
you took the picture of the barcode?
Yeah.
Yeah, give us information.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get that. And you guys could check it out for yourself. Hey, Jay is here. What's up? Daryl is here from Chicago. Good to see you. Now, the internet is usually not great here. We might as well give a quick walkabout around Lincoln Center. Yeah, Joel PM's, the Social Security full retirement age is now 5 years less than the male full life expectancy. I think that, you know, and you guys know I tend to be a raging optimist on the United States of America, and I am. I think it's going to continue to be a never-ending that the United States is going to serve up. But we have to get this health crisis under control, because that's what it is. It's a health crisis in America. And I think it's because of the foods we eat, guys. I think all of this genetically modified stuff, the seed oils, I mean, that couldn't be worse for us. So stay away from all the seed oils. That is quite literally the worst thing for you. I was reading a really good Twitter thread. There's this anonymous doctor that has a Twitter thread, and he wrote like this 15-paragraph diatribe about why seed oils are so horrible and how they actually first came about to get put in all of our food. So if you can avoid that, that would be best. Now, it's sad to say, but that is actually a bullish factor for a lot of healthcare stocks and big pharma. right? That's a huge bull thesis for healthcare. If you look at the percentage of spending as it relates to GDP on healthcare, it's essentially gone parabolic over the last 20 years, and it's going to continue. The average American is going to continue to spend more and more and more and more and more money on healthcare. So companies like United Health, all the big pharmaceutical companies, Thermo Fisher, Biogen, all of those guys are going to do really, really well over the next coming years. Yeah, Daryl says GMO and additives are poisonous to humans. I couldn't agree with you more. Susanna Q4 says thank you for the tips about seed oil. Yeah, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, but seed oil is no good. No good, my friends. I'm trying to find out what is coming out tonight. It makes me happy to see this at Lincoln Center because for too long, this place was absolutely dead after the pandemic, and it seems to be fully back, which is great. I think the ambiance of this picture here is unmatched. You have Juilliard School in the distance. You have all the patrons coming out of the show on this very quiet night in New York. It's an awesome neighborhood. Thank you for joining us outside of Lincoln Center. I'm curious as to what show is going on. Let me see if I could see it on the screen here. Camelot. Wow. Let's see what it's about. Well, I'm assuming it's a good show because it's totally packed here. So this is the box office as you walk into the Christopher Lightfoot Walker lobby. Deborah says it's Camelot the musical. NBA Elias says, Tom, are the concerts and Broadway shows back to full capacity? I'd like to say yeah, but I'm actually not too sure. I haven't been to a Broadway show and I couldn't tell you how many years. That's actually one of my goals for this year, by the way. One of my main goals for this year, 2023, is to go to more activities in the city. I live here, right? My family's from here, and I never really go to any events. I don't really go to sporting events. I don't go to the Broadway shows. I don't go to musicals. And I think I'm really missing out. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't want to regret that when I look back. So this summer, I'm gonna make it a point to go to some, baseball games. I want to get to Yankee Stadium, go out to Queens. I really want to see a tennis match. Never been to one. That is one of my goals too. I want to get there. Because New York City is such a diverse city, not only in its people, obviously, but what you can do. I mean, you will never get bored if you move to New York. If you move here and you live here, it's literally a never-ending stream of activities to do. I mean, you're never going to get bored here. And if there's one thing I need to be honest about, I don't take advantage of a fraction of the stuff that New York City has to offer, honestly. Wow, John says the Met was in March. Completely sold out. Very nice. Connor says, hello, Tom. Smart money avoids seed oils. Right on, Tom. Thank you. Yeah, it's a killer, man. It's a killer. Mighty Mole says extra virgin olive oil is great. So check this out. We'll talk about, now this is going to be kind of a funny topic, but I wanted to talk about this. So on the topic of oil, look at crude oil today. We broke $70 a barrel to the downside. Okay, that's significant. That is the market telling us that there's a high probability of some sort of a major economic slowdown or recession, right? I think that's undeniable. Now, one of the reasons why I think this, and this is actually something I got wrong, if you remember, probably back in December, right? This was when the news was breaking that China is going to get rid of the zero COVID policy, right? Because they started to have riots and uproaring, and people couldn't take it anymore. Now, like many economists on Wall Street, many analysts thought that this Chinese recovery was going to be massive. It was going to be a boom, right? Chinese consumers were going to get out and go spend. They were going to get out and travel. We haven't really seen a lot of that. And that's been showing up in not only general economic data, but that's been showing up in a lot of the earnings reports from major companies, right? For whatever reason, the Chinese consumer hasn't really surprised us to the upside. It's actually surprised to the downside. Now, Apple reported earnings 2 weeks ago-ish. Tim Cook came out, made a statement, and said exactly that. You know, even though Apple's earnings are fantastic, the downside that Tim Cook sees is that the Chinese consumer has not shown its face in a real way that they were expecting. Now, if you look at crude oil, it's sort of forecasted that, right? And if you look at different commodities, it can be a leading economic indicator for not only the United States, but globally. Now, if you look at olive oil, just since we're on the topic of oil, I think olive oil futures crushed an all-time record high. And I think it was due to some drought. I was briefly reading the article. I just got a good laugh out of it. You know, the author was, you know, just kind of making a funny comparison that you have crude oil breaking its 52-week lows while you have olive oil crushing its 52-week highs to the upside. Hey, Dan Zhang, this is Tom. In China, layoffs and job cuts have been going on like crazy, and it's getting more expensive to live in a lot of major cities in China. Yeah, I mean, so Dan Zhang, do you have any immediate family or friends that are sort of backing up that data and are sort of telling you, hey, you know, layoffs are really ramping up? Because another leading economic indicator that is sort of telling us this is the industrials, right? You look at Caterpillar. Caterpillar broke a 52-week low again today, right? So you have the industrials, and this is on the same topic of, you know, this really, really thin market we have. You have the indices that had a really, really nice rally and a really nice pickup due to Microsoft, Amazon, and all these big FANG stocks. But when you look under the hood of the market, the industrials are rolling over. You have energy stocks rolling over, right? Look at the XLE. Now the XLE, ticker symbol XLE, is the energy ETF, right? The Spiders Energy. And that's rolling over. That's trading near a 52-week low, and it's below its 50 and 200-day moving average. So it is a cause for concern, in my opinion. Steve CR says Tesla is the #1 selling car in China. SME Media, good to see you. Welcome. We're walking Upper West Side tonight. This is where they shoot the ABC 7 News to the right. Using People says, what are your opinions about trend following? Is it a bad strategy? It's the best strategy. If you look at all of the most successful money managers that ever existed, they were all trend followers. Stan Druckenmiller, George Soros, Bill O'Neill, that just passed away over the weekend, Ray Dalio. All these guys are trend followers. Okay, everybody. Now that we're on the Upper West Side, I got to tell you about the neighborhood because I may move here, not full-time, but part-time. And here's what I'm seeing. Studio apartments on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, I'd say between 72nd Street and 90th Street, they've been softening in a big way, okay? Prices of studio apartments, now I know nobody really wants to live in a studio, but they've been softening in a big way. I'm actually seeing, if you go on StreetEasy, if you go on Zillow right now, there's actually concessions. They're offering about 2 months of free rent right now on some select studios on the Upper West Side. It always starts in the rental market. It always starts in the rental market because if you're a landlord, you sort of get a better glimpse into the economic environment than your average buyer, right? Because when you're a landlord, you're screening tons and tons of tenants. You're seeing the demand in terms of applications for your properties. So in my view, I think you're going to see big softening for 1-bedroom and studio rentals. Right now, you could actually get a studio on the Upper West Side for less than $2,500. In some cases, if you get a really good deal, you can get it for like $1,900. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, that is insane. Tom, that's crazy. What are you talking about? You know, a studio apartment for $1,900? You must be out of your mind. Well, yeah, you're right. I am out of my mind. However, that is the norm in New York. Studios could actually, depending on the neighborhood you're in, could go up to $5,000, right? Depending on the neighborhood you're in. If you have a really good view, if it's a full service building, if you have a swimming pool, if you have a gym, if you have doormen, it can get pricey. But there are some gorgeous brownstones right here on the Upper West Side and some of these railroad style apartments where you can get a studio for under $2,300 now. So that is what I'm in the market for. And then maybe in a year or so, when prices really soften, which I think they're going to do, I think this is where I would look to buy something. Maybe 1-bedroom, studio 1-bedroom that I could rent out when I'm in Miami and vice versa. I'll pull off to the side to give you guys a little bit of a shot of the neighborhood. You have Valerie, says $1,900. Star Fox, good to see you. Smee Media says, are you saying you were thinking to buy on the Upper West Side or rent? So I think at first rent, because I want to get a place in Manhattan. And as you guys know, the Upper West Side is my personal favorite neighborhood for a multiple of reasons. Now, I should actually rephrase that. I should say Central Park South, right, Billionaires Row is my favorite neighborhood, but I think that's a little bit out of my price range, guys. I know that, you know, the $75 million apartment just closed at 220 Central Park South, but that's a little bit out of my price range right now, okay? So Upper West Side's a gorgeous neighborhood. If you've noticed the transition, right, from walking from Midtown Manhattan to the Upper West Side, it's very quiet up here. It's very, very spacious. And the biggest selling point of the Upper West Side of Manhattan, in my opinion, is that you have the best of the 2 greatest parks in the entire East Coast of the United States. If you live on the Upper West Side, you're sandwiched in between Central Park and Riverside Park. And Riverside Park is really nice because it sits right on the Hudson River. Very quiet. So if you're looking to move to New York and you want something a little bit quieter in a way, I would suggest the Upper West Side. More kid-friendly as well. Hey, Joan K is here. What's up? Steve CR. All right, let's not get it. Let's just leave the political stuff to a minimum with the the migrants and stuff. We get that, we understand that, but we just don't need to hammer it in the chat and upset people. But I do appreciate it. I understand it's a big problem. NBA Elias, this is the Upper West Side neighborhoods close to airports. I mean, as close as any other neighborhood in New York, right? I mean, the way I would get there, right, is just jump on the 1 train. I would go to Penn Station and jump on the Long Island Railroad and take it to Jamaica. Now, from Jamaica Station, you could actually take the air train, which I believe is $8 now. I can't even believe that, but it is. It's $8, I think, one way on the air train, and it'll take you to JFK, any of the terminals you want. The last time I took an Uber from JFK into Manhattan, I think I spent like over $90 to do so, which is just a crime against humanity, in my opinion. And also look at the vibe of the Upper West Side too. It's very quiet, very little street traffic in comparison to Midtown, and you have all these nice restaurants lining the streets. And you could actually see a little bit of greenery too. This is a good Italian restaurant. This is called Parm. It's on the corner of West 71st Street and Columbus Avenue. And just notice the difference, right? Notice the difference between our live streams 2 or 3 days ago when we were walking around Lower Manhattan. We were walking across the Manhattan Bridge. Everything is so loud. In comparison to here, more quiet. I'd feel comfortable raising a kid on the Upper West Side as opposed to, being in Midtown Manhattan. And I think I like the architecture a little bit better. It feels like you're in a home, right? If you walk up the steps to a brownstone building here, I think it feels a little bit like you're actually at home. Now the Billionaires Row, super tall, I don't know, I'd say, skyscraper type deals, they're nice. But in my opinion, I think this style, a little bit older classic New York, feels a little bit more homey in my opinion. Yeah, Hang with Mark Moms just feels more laid back in that section. It really does. It really does. Hang with Mark Mom, we were just talking about the S&P Case-Shiller home price index that just dropped today. And we're seeing more of the same, right? Now, even though home prices did go up for 2 months in a row, the West Coast is really, really lagging behind, and price declines are getting quite significant in places like San Francisco and Seattle. But the Southeast is actually holding pretty strong. Now, this is 72nd Street, and I want to take you guys all the way down to the Dakota, which is the very famous apartment building that was home to the Beatles' very own John Lennon. And maybe if we have time, I'll give you guys a quick glimpse into Strawberry Fields, which is a gorgeous tribute, right on the corner of 72nd Street and Central Park West. Hey, FredX, what's up? Good to see you. John Kelly says agree, brownstone, and in that area much more homely. Yeah, I 100% agree. Let me pull off to the side. I'm going to go down one of these streets to show you guys some amazing brownstones. But even this one, not necessarily a brownstone, but the architecture is gorgeous here. And I believe the majority of these buildings all come with full service doormen. Now the only thing, the older buildings, usually if you buy or you rent in one of these buildings, it's not going to have all of the amenities that a lot of people like. You're not going to have the big fancy gyms, you're not really going to have the big fancy swimming pools, but some people don't need that. Some people don't want that. You know, they want the more classic and rustic New York. And why would you need a gym when you could take 2 steps and take a nice run around Central Park? I mean, that is your gym right in Central Park. There's actually pull-up bars in there. You could bang out some dips on the dip bar and get creative with it. 2 yellow labs to the right, 2 o'clock. But this is what we've all been waiting for, team. Look at how gorgeous this is. Now, are there any Beatles fans here in the chat? Now, for all of you Beatles fans, this is the Dakota. Very classic, I would say Gothic style architecture perhaps. Once again, right here on 72nd Street and Central Park West, you actually have the original gas lamps, or the lanterns here. You can sort of see the flames flickering in the wind. Yeah, marketing videography, that's true too. Central Park has tennis courts. Okay, did you guys see this pickleball thing that's been going around? I think maybe tonight we may have like just 3 minutes to check it out, if it's still up. Does anybody remember where the ice skating rink was in Central Park? The Woolman rink? I believe right now, or maybe they just took it down, there's maybe 10 or so pickleball courts. It's like this big trend that's been going around. Anybody play that? But they set up a big area, recreational area right there. All right, I'm gonna cross and get you guys a closer look to the original gas lamps here. Man, it's so unique, so beautiful. Can you guys see the flames on the stream? These are still the original ones. It looks awesome. And you're right at the M22 bus. Excuse me, M72 bus. And you're right at the subway entrance in Central Park. This is why I love the Upper West Side. Take your pick. Do you want to take a run in Central Park, or do you want to go to Riverside? And then you have amazing views of all of Billionaires Row. So you see Central Park Tower and 220 Central Park South, right from your apartment, overlooking Central Park. So we'll cross Central Park West, and this is what you call Strawberry Fields, which is the tribute to John Lennon. It's this one of the main subway entrances down here. But once we cross, you're going to be able to see the Dakota in a little bit of a better view. I think there's better lighting, so the architectural details could really pop out on the screen for you guys. I definitely wouldn't mind living there. So here it is, 72nd Street, the Dakota. Hey, Cosmo. Dude, I miss it too, man. Maybe one of these days in the summer, Cosmo, I'm gonna bring it back. Cosmo, hopefully you had a good Memorial Day weekend, man. I saw you were taking a look at the, what was that, the Manhattan Hedge? Manhattan Hedge with Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's awesome, dude. That's so cool. Cosmo's a good friend of ours, great moderator. Baruch Bearcat. All right, this is Strawberry Fields here. as we head into Central Park. It's probably going to be a little bit too dark. You guys may not be able to see a lot. Hey, Destructionist, good to see you. So during the day, there's tons of musicians all along the benches here playing classic Beatles music. And look at that. This is our friend 432 Park Avenue, all the way in the distance. This is the Imagine. Using people says, when you finish work, do you shut off your laptop and just forget about it, or do you keep checking email? I have to be on 24/7. I can't not be attached to it. If a client needs me, it doesn't matter if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm on and I'm ready to get the deal done. Which it's not for everybody, but for me, I like it. This is the Steinway building, 111 West 57th Street. Sometimes I wish I could just turn off the phone or the laptop, but the emails keep coming. Hey, Keith Walker, thank you so much. Again, it's that contrast between classic Upper West Side and the new New York. I'll take you guys on a little walk through Central Park at night. I think it'll be cool. Using people, yeah, I would still do it, for sure. 100%. Now, there's been a huge uptick. Speaking of email, you guys got to watch out for something. And this is a very fitting topic because last week, obviously, major cybersecurity company Palo Alto Networks reported earnings, right? This week, we're going to get even more cybersecurity companies reporting earnings, such as Okta, Zscaler, CrowdStrike, and the like. This is the main bike path. So beautiful in Central Park at night. But one of the pieces of software that I actually used to sell was Emotet protection software, which is essentially a software that scans out or scans for and protects against phishing scams. So what's been going on with a lot of cyber gangs and cyber criminals right now, we'll venture into the park a little bit more. I think it'll be cool to show you guys what Central Park looks like at night. It's very peaceful, very beautiful. One of the things that a lot of cyber gangs and criminals and scumbags are doing now is they're sending out mass emails that may look like it's coming from your company, right? So let's say if you work for JP Morgan, you may get an email that says, thomas.whatever at jpmorgan.com, but there'll be one letter off in the domain name. You may click on the link, next thing you know, that downloads malicious software onto your computer and it compromises the whole infrastructure. They're also doing that with text messaging now. How many of you have gotten these spam text messages, right, from people texting you, hey, your water bill is due, click this link. You never click the link, okay? If you click the link, your phone is going to be compromised and it's going to download malware on your phone. So I think cybersecurity is one of those sectors in the market that's going to continue to outperform because unfortunately, due to criminals, it has secular tailwinds, unfortunately, but I think we could all agree that we've seen that before. Look at these flowers in Central Park, beautiful. All right, I'm going to be quiet for a moment, and I want you guys to really take in how quiet it is here, very peaceful. This is all a billionaire's row. See, Central Park at night's not too bad. Don't you think? It's not bad. I think there's this stigma that Central Park is dangerous at night. It's really not. It's really not. Lots of lighting. The NYPD patrols the park a lot. I think it's really beautiful at night. You can hear a jogger. I'll take you guys to the fountain. I think you'll appreciate this. Yeah, dusty cold. It smells great. It smells fantastic. And sometimes this is what you need. You know, after a crazy day at work, many people think that you can't find peace in New York City. You can. Take a walk through Central Park. That's one of the reasons why, you know, we were talking about the Upper West Side in terms of its real estate. I think it's very, very attractive. I'm about to get a place on the Upper West Side. It's an amazing neighborhood, and this is your backyard, right? Who says you need your own backyard when you have Central Park? If you listen closely, you can actually hear the fountain. I never get a chance to actually hear the horses because it's usually so loud. All right, this is the main fountain. I'm not sure if you guys could see it because it may be too dark, but it is beautiful up here. Now I'll take you guys right down here. So let's go. Take you guys right there. The architecture is unbelievable. Yeah, Cosmo, I saw your comment. Yeah, I think I'm going to rent a place on the Upper West Side. And then maybe in a year, when prices are a little bit more attractive, purchase a place. But guys, check this out. Look at how gorgeous this looks. Hey, War Walker, dude, what's up? I want you guys to notice the architecture on the ceiling specifically. that New York is always loud, hustle, bustle, crazy, but there are places in New York where you could find peace, I promise that. And we were talking about real estate at length. This is where we were standing. Does anybody remember I pointed to it and I said we're gonna be right here. So this is the underside of where we were just standing. Yeah, the acoustics are great here. Let me see if you guys can hear the echo. There's usually a gentleman that stands right here and sings opera. He's unbelievable. Channel, he has an amazing voice, unbelievable voice. Cosmo, if he's still in the chat, you've probably seen him walking around Central Park. Really talented guy. But I want to take you to the fountain so you could hear it. Let me know if you guys could hear it. Maybe I have to turn the microphone up a little bit. And from here you could see all of Midtown Manhattan and Billionaires Row. And, you know, hopefully tomorrow's a better day. I've definitely had my fair share of those crazy days at work where it seems never ending. But those too do pass. Now, marketing videography, I think you mentioned if the boathouse is now reopened. I believe it is. And back in 2021, my company, we actually rented out the entire thing for a Christmas party. It was unbelievable. It was awesome. Whoa, what was that? Oh, it's a turtle. You see that? It's too dark, but I accidentally put my hand on a turtle. I was like, what in the heck? The thing jumped in the water. That's another thing a lot of people don't know about. There's literally hundreds of turtles in this pond here. You can see the boathouse in the distance and the Upper East Side of Manhattan. But yeah, all along the side here, you could see them all sleeping along the side of the wall. Maybe too dark, but all right, I'll head back into the city. Hey, War Walker, how's everything going in Miami? I'll be back there soon enough. Please, God. Hey, JP is here. What's up, JP? Welcome. We sort of went off the beaten path tonight on the live stream, but I think that's good to do every once in a while. Show you guys something different. Getting a workout in on these stairs. All right, back to the city. Yes, Me Media says this is just as great as Staten Island Ferry. It's different, you know? Not a lot of people come into Central Park at night. So not a lot of tourists really see Central Park at night. So I think it's good to showcase it. trying to take a shortcut. We'll take a bit of a shortcut. All right, so we're probably in line with 70th Street. So we have to walk up 2 more to get to 72nd, and then we will be back on Central Park West. Yeah, the LT Prod, it really did. That guy's got a shopping cart from somewhere. All right, I got to stop and give you guys this view one more time. This is all of Billionaires Row, the Essex House, JWD Marriott Essex House. This is the 220 Central Park South, which just went into contract, or one of the units just went into contract for $75 million over the Memorial Day weekend. Then you have the Extel Group's Central Park Tower and the 157. And then you have the skinniest residential apartment building in the entire world, the Steinway Tower, right there. Yeah, Edward, you're right. Ken Griffin does own, I think, the 53rd to the 54th floor at 220 Central Park South. Now, what's interesting about this sale, it's a little bit of an exclusive sale. We do not know who the buyer is. They probably want to remain anonymous, which I understand, and I get that. However, check this out. The unit that just went under contract is a resale, right? And the seller is set to make north of $20 million on the sale. And I think the entity, individual, we don't know, who purchased it at first, held it for less than 18 months, I believe. It's a pretty big payday, right? For 18 months of speculation, I guess you could call it. So pretty nice $20 million payday for our friend Cosmo in the chat. This is the Daniel Webster monument. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that Central Park walk. Very seldom do we come in Central Park at night, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. See something a little bit different on the live stream. Yeah, who dat Dave? You're right, about a 36% return in a year. It's not bad, it's pretty good. And you know, this is exactly what we've been talking about, right? You're seeing very specific parts of the market hold up really well. And my prediction has always been, you're gonna see the top 1% of the 1% properties still be so ridiculously sought after. Because in reality now, it's almost like you got to think about it a different way. You got to think about it like collecting an art piece, right? It's a one-of-a-kind Picasso in the sky. That's how these ultra high net worth individuals think about it. There was a sale that's actually back on the market at 432 Park Avenue. I think they're going to sell it. Well, it's listed, I think, at about it would be about an $18 million loss. But the previous owner, the previous owner of the unit never lived in it, right? So this Saudi Arabian multi-billionaire, right, oil tycoon, purchased the property, 432 Park, and he's never been there. He's never even seen it. It was all virtual. He's like, yeah, I'll buy it. Never even stepped foot in the place. Think about that. So real estate, there's many, many different levels, and people think about it in many, many different ways. Some people use real estate as a way to park money, right? Foreign investors moving money out of, maybe war-torn countries and parking it in a safe place. There's no safer piggy bank in the sky than at the 120th floor of Central Park Tower, right? It's always going to be there. It's going to hold its wealth generally, right? At least keep up with inflation. So the New York market, places like LA, Burbank, Miami, Florida, has these trophy properties that many ultra high net worth individuals are using as a way to collect and store wealth. It's very fascinating. Yeah, Hang with Mark Mom makes a good point. She says, Tom, a lot of multimillionaires buy a piece and they never step foot in it. They either resell it or try to flip it. Yeah, it's just sort of like collecting artwork at that level. Now, Serhant, which is the real estate brokerage that is owned by Ryan Serhant, you've probably seen him on $1 Million Listing New York. He got the listing of the triplex atop of Central Park Tower. The asking price is $250 million. Think about that, $250 million. It has the highest outdoor patio in the world. And you could literally see the curvature of the earth from your apartment. Now, I can guarantee you the person who's going to buy that, or it's probably going to be an investment entity that's going to buy that, is probably not going to be using that as their primary residence. I would estimate. It's probably going to be exactly what we were talking about with 432 Park Avenue. This is a trophy piece of real estate. Maybe you'll have a Christmas dinner there, a company party, but it's definitely not going to be a primary residence. There's just no way. Wow, Lady Cerritos says, Tom, that's also happening in Texas now. Many people are buying and then they go live out of state. That's really interesting. Chrissy says, I would be too afraid to step out on the balcony. Well, you would think that, but you got to watch the property tour of that apartment. It's totally encased in glass, which kind of it has to be, right? Because it has to block the wind. Could you imagine the wind up there? It's insane. All right, we are now back in the city. Welcome back to the concrete jungle. We are officially out of Central Park. We are on Columbus Avenue and 72nd Street. We are going to be headed downtown. Yeah, Brad's brain is like off base thought. I don't think I could live up that high. You know, it's allegedly above the sound. It's so high that you can't hear any street noise. You can't hear any honking. You can't hear sort of anything. Now, I'll throw in sort of my opinion, because to Brad's brain's point, he makes a good point. I would actually, like if I had a choice, right? Like let's say if somebody came to me and they said, Tom, you could choose any apartment on Billionaires Row. Anyone. I don't think I would choose that one all the way at the top. And I'll tell you why. I actually kind of like to be just in line with all of the other skyscrapers. Does that make sense? So you're not towering so far above. You're sort of just enough above where you have an unobstructed view of Central Park, but you're also in line with the other buildings. It just makes it feel, a little bit cooler in a way, right? Sort of like you're in the movie Wall Street, where you have your big desk and all the big buildings in the back. I think it's kind of cool to have that view. All right, I'll quickly take you guys down this block just to show you some of the, I would say, the more original brownstone buildings. And I think there's a, I'm trying to figure out where the signature listing is. Ah, here it is. I think we'll have to cross the street to get to it, but it's okay. Here's a lot of the original brownstones on the Upper West Side. Look at how gorgeous they are. Now, this is something I could call home. What do you guys think about this? Look at the detail going up the stairs. These are the original brownstones here in New York. Beautiful architecture. And I think this unit's actually for rent. They have a ground floor unit, seems to be vacant. But here's a pro tip. You guys want to know pro tip? New York City real estate pro tip. Don't rent a ground floor apartment. I won't say any more. Just take my advice. Look at this one. Again, all of these original brownstone buildings. Just so peaceful. Yeah, Brad's brain's like, I could do this in a heartbeat. I'm telling you guys, this is why this is my favorite neighborhood. It's so peaceful, it's so quiet. You have ample amounts of shade. This is really, really big, you know, so the block doesn't get too hot. You have a place to park your vehicle. And obviously the architecture is, I mean, unbelievable. This is a nice shot here. I'm a really big fan of the grand staircase entrances, like this, like just how wide and how grand it is. Canard bar says, are all these empty? No, the vast majority of them are totally filled. All right, guys, well, that was a really fun stream, and we are at time. Now, we did cover a lot, but I really mainly wanted to focus on the Upper West Side to give you guys a different perspective of the different neighborhoods in Manhattan and just why I love the Upper West Side so much because of the gorgeous architecture. Just a quick recap. We mainly talked about the real estate market tonight because the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Home Price Index dropped today, and we're seeing more of the same, right? You're seeing this bifurcated market where the West Coast is not doing so well, right? Cities like Seattle, San Francisco are seeing major price declines, but cities in the Southeast are holding up pretty well. We also talked about China a little bit tonight, crude oil, and tomorrow we'll delve a little bit deeper into some corporate earnings. Now, on tomorrow night's live stream, maybe we'll go to the Upper East Side, and I'll show you guys the Met, which is essentially on the opposite side of where we are. So if you enjoyed the live stream tonight, everybody, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. If you want to connect with us off the live stream, you could click the links in the description. Follow us on Twitter at Walks Wall Street. Sign up for our newsletter. And a major thank you to you guys. I think we crossed 30,000 people tonight on the stream, which is just insane. You know, when I started this, what, a year and a half ago? 2 years, something like that? Never in a million years did I think there'd be 30,000 people that would be interested in exploring New York City and Miami while talking about the financial markets. So I appreciate you guys being here. So thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow. Marketing videography, thank you so much. Hawaii, Who Dat Dave, everything in Miami, good to see you, sir. NBA Elias, Joseph Hardaway, Love is Kind, Wendy England, Joe Driver, War Walker, Cindy Foley, and to the Mighty Bull. Have a good night wherever you are, because there is always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. I'll see you guys tomorrow, right back here, 8:30 on Walks from Wall Street.